This is the Angels Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Los Angeles Angels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Man, oh man, was that close. Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Halo hopefuls, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast, coming at you live, as always, after every single Angels game, right here on the Locked On Angels YouTube channel, and after the fact, both on the channel and wherever you get the Locked On Angels audio podcast feed. If you don't know who I am, what's going on, everybody? My name is Gavin Carlson, former credentialed journalist in the LA area, was covering UCLA sports for 4 years with the Daily Bruin, and now in year 2 with the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Our team is the Angels, and man, a tough loss tonight. Obviously, Angels fall in a pitcher's duel, a tight one, 3-2 the score. The Giants are able to even up this 3-game series at 1 apiece after yesterday's win for the Halos. Obviously, the big headline in this one, Mike Trout, he goes deep not once but twice, but really could have made it 3 times. He falls just short in the bottom of the 9th inning of having a game-tying and third home run of the game. He fell just short, caught at the warning track by Heliot Ramos, and the Angels fall 3-2. A lot to talk about in this one. First and foremost, shout out to everybody in here as always. A lot of the familiar faces: Dave, NES, Mahoko is back, Nathan's here, TFL is here, Newbie is here. The man I don't see, oh no, I do see him. It's Vinny. We do have to start by giving him his credit. Vinny, yesterday, he called the Trout home run, and not only did he hit 1, he hit 2, and Vinny is now 2 for 2, like he says here. I called it again, guys. I'm 2 for 2 in terms of calling Mike Trout home runs. So yes, obviously a lot to talk about in terms of the Mike Trout side of things. Shout out to Vinny for calling it, but the unfortunate fact is, outside of Trout's home runs tonight, the Angels did nothing. And it's the same way Zach Neto's RBI double in his return yesterday kind of blinded us from the fact, or hid the fact, that the Angels offense did nothing else yesterday in a win. Trout's 2 home runs are going to distract a little bit, but obviously not as much, because you lost the ball game from the fact that the Angels offense continues to do nothing. Another double-digit strikeout performance, 10 strikeouts. They get on base via the walk just once, just 6 hits as a team, and the lineup was not good enough. Unfortunately for the Angels, and unfortunately for Kyle Hendricks in the bullpen, is we waste a really good team pitching performance. Kyle Hendricks goes 5 innings, gives up the 3 runs, which is solid, but the bullpen was fantastic. Reid Detmers 2 2/3 without a run. Ryan Johnson an inning and a third without a run. So this game feels like a missed opportunity, because if you would have told me that there's a game where Mike Trout goes deep twice and the bullpen is flawless and Kyle Hendricks was decent and you lose the game, you'd say no chance, right? Because if you look at the weaknesses for our team in these losses, it's been not getting enough from Mike Trout and from other big name players in the lineup, a Logan O'Hoppe, guys like that. It's been a lack of production from them and games falling apart because of the bullpen, right? So the bullpen delivered and Mike Trout delivered, and you still lost the ball game. It feels like a missed opportunity. And obviously, context, you're playing a great baseball team, but you're very close to being 2-0, already winning the series, and going into tomorrow's game with a chance to sweep the Giants and completely erase what would have happened in that 9-game road trip in those last 6 games against the Rangers and Astros. But that's kind of a long intro there. Shout out to everybody in here as always, and we're going to jump right into it. Everyone's favorite segment, it's the turning point.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Yeah, I mean, a few ways you can go with this one. Obviously, a near turning point with Mike Trout's at bat in the bottom of the 9th inning, already having 2 home runs. He hits one 384 feet that just falls short. Obviously, you could say not the turning point, but the deciding point is Nolan Schanuel not coming through with a runner on second base with 2 outs. He gets out and the Angels fall just short. But I mean, the biggest swing of the game was Matt Chapman, and a huge moment for the Giants, obviously coming off a loss. And they wanted to start the game well, and they couldn't have started it any better after Willy Adames reaches via the walk, a 2-out Matt Chapman 2-run shot on an awful pitch, right? I mean, Kyle Hendricks throws a sinker right down the middle for whatever reason Chapman's taking, and then he throws a changeup up and away, but really just up and right down the middle, 78 miles an hour right down the pipe. What do you think is going to happen? And Matt Chapman, he hit it pretty well. He ironically hits it 384 feet, just like Mike Trout swing that falls just short of his third home run. But obviously the turning point there with Matt Chapman having the home run. Also, an additional turning point in this game was the play that Matt Chapman made in the field. And it's ironic, in yesterday's game, the turning point was, other than Zach Neto's RBI double, it was the at-bat after where Matt Chapman makes the rare error to give up the second run of the ball game, gave the Angels a 2-0 lead, and obviously we were able to protect that. But tonight he makes up for it with a fantastic play right after the Trout fly out and the Jorge Soler single in the bottom of the ninth. Logan O'Hoppe hits a hard ground ball to Matt Chapman, who makes not a hard ground ball, but a ground ball where Chapman has to make a great play. He bounces one to first base and just barely beats O'Hoppe 3-0. So really, those are the two turning points, both involving Matt Chapman, the 2-run home run to go up 2-0 in the first, but also even the Trout home run near third home run aside, there's still a Jorge Soler single and a runner on first base with just one out. O'Hoppe hits a ground ball that very easily could make it first and second with one out, and the Angels are in business to at least tie this game. Not to mention it was a 3-0 pitch to Logan O'Hoppe as well. So turning point for so many reasons. You could argue it's that whole bottom of the ninth inning, but in particular, it's Matt Chapman, top of the second, and in this play here to rob O'Hoppe of a hit and really to rob the Angels of that game-tying rally in the bottom of the ninth inning. But outside of that, we will get to the player of the game. We'll just get it right out of the way because we all know what it's going to be.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Of course, it's Mike Trout, and Matt Chapman certainly has an argument on his own right. He hits the biggest home run of this game, the 2-run shot, and he has the biggest play in the field, but it is certainly Mike Trout. He hits 2 home runs. He almost hits 3. And boy, was this needed. The same way this team really needed Zach Neto to join the lineup yesterday to add some energy. Boy, Mike Trout really needed a performance like tonight to hopefully help him catch fire. He still can't do anything other than hit home runs and solo home runs, as a matter of fact. But at least he did that twice. He's still hitting 189. But the OPS is over 800 because despite hitting 189, he's got 8 home runs. He's got 8 home runs. He's up to, I believe, 16 RBIs, despite really not doing it outside of the home run ball. So certainly Trout is the player of the game with the 2 shots. But the big story, of course, and it continues to be an issue for the Angels, is the solo home run curse, it feels like. And I know I've been kind of going back and forth on this debate saying it's lazy. People that just say, oh, this team swings for the fences, that's why they hit solo home runs. I don't agree with that. I think it's a lazy take to just say that. That being said, I was saying that earlier in the season when the team was still adding base hits, when guys like Jorge Soler, who would be the number one guys you're accusing of just swinging for the fences, they were having base hits. Taylor Ward was getting base hits. The team was having 8-9 hits in a game. They weren't striking out double-digit times in a game. And so the solo home run debate was a debate, but now it's back to feeling like it is a little bit different. The Angels have had double-digit strikeouts in, I think, like 4 of the last 5 games. They finally had their first guy get on via the walk in a couple games, and they only have 6 hits total. 2 of them are the Trout home runs, another one being that Jorge Soler single in the 9th. So outside of that, there was really no life from this offense once again, and we're expecting it against a guy like Logan Webb. But I don't think we were expecting it here tonight against the Giants starter. The guy's 26 years old. He doesn't have much of a career. Last year, he was 1-2. He had 4 starts. He pitched 23 games, but just 4 starts. The ERA was 3.58, a 1.37 whip. In 50 innings, he had 47 strikeouts last year. So an average guy, but not really a starter, right? Kind of just working into that role a little bit. And this year, obviously, he is in the rotation, his 4th start of the season. He's now 2-1 with a 4.09 ERA. Not a world beater or anything like that, but to have absolutely no life outside of the Trout home runs, it's frustrating. It's disappointing, and it's becoming a huge concern, right? That this is not, earlier in the year, I would say that obviously the team was hitting great and hitting 4 home runs a game in addition, but then they started having those games where they weren't doing anything other than hitting the home runs, and I was saying, hey, at least the Angels in 2025, we know that there's always going to be the likelihood they're going to hit at least 1 home run, even in a game where they don't show up. Well, the problem is they've had a few games recently where they haven't hit those home runs, and they've gotten shut out, or they scored 1 run. And today is another day where you hit 2 solo shots, but you do nothing else. And again, you waste a great performance from particularly Reid Detmers and the bullpen. So that's what makes it frustrating. The 10 strikeouts, the fact that Kyron Paris is now joining the strikeout crew, 3 at-bats, 3 strikeouts for him. Suddenly he's hitting 288. And I think the biggest concern, in my opinion, is Taylor Ward. Taylor Ward, another 0 for 4, another 3 strikeouts. And despite him having a couple extra base hits in that leadoff spot earlier in the year, he's right back to being a guy that does not belong in the leadoff spot, period. 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts. He's hitting 214. The OPS is under 700. Rengifo goes 1 for 4, not good enough. And so at the end of the day, this lineup needs some change, and we'll talk about it after the break a little bit. Some changes that I think need to be made to the lineup. I know I've been hinting at them for a while. Ironically, I was saying the biggest change needed was to move Trout down, and he shut me the heck up, so got to give him his credit. But again, this lineup needs some changes. I think Ron Washington needs to make them, and after the break, we will talk about that. We'll also talk about that pitching performance from Kyle Hendricks and Reid Detmers and Ryan Johnson, get a little bit more nitty-gritty in that aspect because their performance deserves some analysis, and it deserves to be highlighted. They were great tonight, specifically Reid Detmers. If Mike Trout didn't hit 2 home runs, and if Matt Chapman didn't do what he did, Reid Detmers, you can make the argument, was the player of the game, and that's very encouraging. So we'll talk about that after our break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Now, today's show, once again, is brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Finding the right talent is great, and certainly Upwork makes that easier. If you need help with a marketing campaign, for example, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivers incredible results. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, multiple qualified candidates are available to choose from. And instead of hiring full-time, Upwork helps find affordable top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. And like I always say, as a recent college grad who's working multiple jobs, I certainly always give credit to any company, any platform that makes hiring easier. So visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com to connect with top tier talent and grow your business today. And today's show is also brought to you by our good friends at Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trade, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Back here live on a, unfortunately, not victory edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast. Angels fall 3-2 in another pitcher's battle. Mike Trout, he is certainly the headline in terms of him hitting 2 home runs. But boy, oh boy, the headline would have been a lot better if that third swing from him in the bottom of the 9th inning goes 384 feet. If it just went 390 and was a game-tying home run, we could quiet some of the doubters in terms of Trout coming through in the clutch, which at this point, they're not Trouters. That's kind of funny. Maybe that's what they need to be called, Mike Trout doubters. But they're not just doubters or haters at this point. They are right in that Mike Trout has not been coming through in the clutch. I mean, he really hasn't been coming through at all this season, but he does come through twice here with 2 solo shots. And boy, how nice it would have been if that third one in the clutch tied the game, silenced some of those doubters, and really just turned his season around, right? He's still hitting below 200. But if there is a positive from this, the first positive is that hopefully this turns things around for Mike Trout season. Boy, oh boy, is that important with Zach Neto coming back, needing some time probably to get into the swing of things for him. If Mike Trout can be Mike Trout and then Zach Neto heats up and Logan O'Hoppe finds his swing back, and this lineup can still be dangerous. It certainly can, especially against lefties with all those darn righties. But the only other positive in this game, and something that you can build on if you're the Angels, even in a loss, is what we saw from the pitching staff, and in particular, Reid Detmers. I mean, I don't think it's crazy to say that this is one of the better performances we've seen from Reid Detmers in his young Angels career. And maybe I'm exaggerating. I know it was just a couple of innings here, but the fact that a guy who has not been pitching well, right? This is the first time in his last 4 outings where he did not give up a run, and easily the longest outing as well. He's only had 2 other outings this season where he's pitched at least 2 innings, and in each of those, he still did give up an earned run. But for him to come out today, not give up or only give up 1 hit, give up that 1 walk there, but 2 strikeouts, I thought he was, calm. I mean, he started off with wow, Dave just read my mind. The control wasn't there early, right? And so for him to be able to kind of settle into things, that's what's encouraging, right? And that's why I am so tired of the times where Ron Washington uses him like a traditional reliever, where he puts him in for 2 batters and sits him down. That's not the point of Reid Detmers. Reid Detmers is a former starter who might still have a future as a starter, but at the very least should be a guy who, in a moment just like today, and this is the perfect time to use him, when your starter was average to maybe just slightly above average, but only got through 5 innings. And unfortunately, this seems to be a common thing for the Angels, whether it's a guy pitching great and Ron Washington taking him out early, or it's Tyler Anderson doing what he's been doing lately of having good outings, but using a lot of pitches, Kyle Hendricks using a lot of pitches, right? This is the role for Reid Detmers. And there's a perfect opportunity here with the way some of these starters are, right? Starters 3 through 5, whether they're pitching great or not, they're not getting deep into ball games. So to have a guy like Detmers who can pitch in the 6th, who can pitch in the 7th, who can get you into the 8th and not give up a run, that is so valuable. It is so valuable, right? And tonight, it's nice. You have a pitcher, a right-handed pitcher, the first 5 innings. You bring in a lefty, completely mess things up, and he's able to not just be in for 3 batters, and then it's this righty-lefty switch thing. No. We have a lefty reliever that we can bring in for 2 2/3 inning, and either you're going to have to make some pinch hitters, make some substitutions, have some pinch hitters to account for the lefty, or you're going to have your lefties hit the lefty, right? So it's a valuable thing, a valuable asset to have a guy like Reid Detmers. I see the question from LK Time is, do you prefer Detmers as a starter or reliever? At the end of the day, people like to have these debates and say, what do you prefer him as? In order to be a starting pitcher, you have to be one of the 5 best starting pitchers on your club, right? Whether or not you want to be a starter, whether or not you might be better as a starter than a reliever, whether or not, you're good or bad. In order to be a starting pitcher on your team, it sounds like an obvious thing because obviously it is. But at the end of the day, you have to be one of the 5 best starters. And so do I think Reid Detmers maybe in the future is a better starter than a reliever? Probably. At this moment, is he a better starter than a reliever? I don't know. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter for our Angels because he's not better than Kikuchi, then Soriano, then Kohanowitz, then Anderson or Hendricks. And that's all that matters, period. Yes, if one of those guys goes down, knock on wood, please, that can't happen. Would he be next in line? Certainly. But at the end of the day, whether we view him as a starter, he views himself as a starter, Ron Washington views him as a starter, it doesn't matter. He's not one of the 5 best starters on this roster, so you are not a starting pitcher this year. That's just how it works, right? And so I like him in this role. I think it's a great opportunity for him. His biggest issue is he is not consistent in terms of his pitch location, in terms of having 3 pitches that he can trust. And if you want to be a starting pitcher in the darn majors, you got to have at least 3 pitches that you can trust consistently every time. Too many times last year, there would be a Reid Detmers start, and right away you'd say, oh, he doesn't have that pitch. He's not going to have it the whole night. And then how in the heck is a guy who's not throwing crazy heat, who doesn't have crazy break, how is he going to get by in games where he only has 2 of his pitches even working, period? Right? And I'm not saying working as in being on an A+ level. No, there's times where he just wouldn't have a pitch available to him, right? You can't be a starter like that. So I totally agree with Baby Yoda here saying Detmers has top of the rotation stuff and potential. He says it's mental and that the Angels aren't known for developing pitchers. That's fair. I'm hoping that that's slowly not going to become the case when you've got guys like Soriano, who you got to give the Angels a lot of credit for turning into an elite starter or up-and-coming starter. A guy like Kohanowitz didn't have crazy expectations, and now he's a manageable starter, right? But with Reid Detmers, he is not good enough, consistent enough to be a starter. And even if he was, He is not one of the 5 best starting pitchers on this roster, so he's not in the rotation, period. That's how I view it, right? And so I think he has a great opportunity with these Angel starters not getting deep into ball games to be the guy who can come in every 2 or 3 games and give you 2 runs or 2 innings like he did today, right? So with all that being said on the Reid Detmers rant it turned into, or conversation, it just frustrates me because I totally understand the question and the questions of, whenever a starter for the Angels has a bad performance, there's people that suddenly clamor for Reid Detmers to be in the rotation, right? Or if he has a good performance like he does tonight, people say, why is he in the rotation? But at the end of the day, it's a rotation of 5 guys. And if you're not one of the top 5, you don't get to be in the rotation. And he's not one of the top 5 guys. Period. So this is not negative. This is a good thing that Reid Detmers goes 2 2/3 innings, does not give up a run. And like multiple people have said in here, we hope this builds his confidence, because we needed to build his confidence, because he can consistently be a guy that does this. And if he is, boy, is that valuable. Imagine when Ben Joyce is back and there's any given day, you can have Reid Detmers pitch in the 6th and 7th inning. You can have Ben Joyce pitch in the 8th, and you can have Kenley Jansen pitch in the 9th. That's a deadly setup, closer, combination. That would be very appealing, right? In terms of appealing and building confidence, this darn lineup, it needs something in order to build some confidence. And I think it's time, officially. I know there's been debates about it since last year when Taylor Ward was in the leadoff spot, but I think we've seen enough. Another 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts for Taylor Ward. I said it at the beginning. And so my question for you, as it seems to be every 3 or 4 shows, is what should the lineup look like? I feel like I asked that every darn show. And at this point, I'm kind of conflicted. I was saying Trout needs to move out of the 3. I mean, you can't move him out of the 3 now if he just did what he just did. I think I would prefer. The Angels are just struggling as a team hitting. You just need the best players getting as many at-bats as possible, right? I think we can't try to be strategic in terms of where guys go as much. You just need to have the best guys getting as many at-bats as possible, especially when you're relying on solo shots anyways. So at this point, I know Neto's only a couple games in. I know he went 0 for 3 with the strikeout today, but maybe you just need to do a Rengifo, Neto, Trout, 1, 2, 3, right? And then it's Neto, Trout, Soler, Ohapi, Shanuel. Your best players are just getting more at bats, period, right? I think that's what you need to have the approach be right now. Yeah, I do think Rengifo is the leadoff guy. People are asking me this in the sense that the Angels don't have enough base runners, so I just want the guy who's most likely to get you a base hit. And I think it's probably Zach Neto, but he gives you a power aspect that maybe you want him hitting second, right? He's usually good with guys on base and everything. So I think you go Rengifo, Neto, Trout, Soler, Ohapi, Shanuel. I guess, Adele, Paris. Maybe you have to make that swap there. And Ward doesn't need to drop all the way down to 9 or something. Maybe you have it go. I think this is going to be my final answer. Rengifo, Neto, Trout, Soler, Ohapi, Shanuel, Ward, Adele, Paris. I think that's probably what it is. But yeah, I totally agree with Justo here, who says you need a lineup reset to maybe wake the bats up and keep things fresh, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if it ain't working, change it. At this point, it ain't working. How many games have the Angels won, even when they were winning? How many times were they winning because the lineup perfectly flowed, as in the leadoff guy was getting a base hit, and then the second guy was advancing him, and then the third guy was hitting him in, or the fourth guy was getting him in on a sac fly. It was a bunch of home runs, right? It's not like we were having all these innings where it was stringing together multiple hits, the speed leadoff guy being a speed leadoff guy, the RBI 3-hole hitter being an RBI 3-hole. No. When there was success earlier, it was just from guys hitting home runs. So at this point, we just have to admit the fact that we need to have our best players getting as many at-bats as possible, and our not as good players not getting as many at-bats as possible, period, right? Dave makes a great point. People saying statistically Ward's best slot is 4, but I just don't feel him as a 4, and I think Soler is obviously he's the cleanup hitter, and he's actually been getting the job done in RBI moments with base hits. He's been getting the job done with base hits when the bases are empty. I like him at the 4, and I obviously just told you what I think. Real Marco Polo has an interesting one. He's saying leadoff Trout. I don't think he can do that. The guy's still hitting below 200, and he doesn't give you much on the bases anymore. Hank Hill says, yes, you can remove Trout out of the 3rd spot, move him to the 5th spot. You guys have to see Trout and just put him in the 3rd spot. because of the name. He's at the 5th. Ward needs to get traded already. I mean, yes, of course, Mike Trout, the name aspect is huge, but he is coming off 2 home runs. He still is your leading RBI guy on the team, right? And so that's what you want from your 3-hole. Ironically, again, it's coming from a bunch of solo shots, but your leading RBI guy needs to be hitting 3rd or 4th. And so and we all know that's what's going to happen. Ron Washington is the last guy who's going to take a veteran out of a spot that he thinks he belongs in, right? He's clearly proven that with Taylor Ward. But I'm way over time today. I'm going to wrap this one up in the comment section and do it after the stream ends so it can be there permanently so I can see your guys' opinion. Let me know what your 1 through 9 should be. And I do have to leave at this. You can obviously tell the setup is different. I am not in my apartment in West LA. I'm actually at my grandmother's house in Santa Clarita, California, anyone who knows. It's obviously Easter weekend, and so I do celebrate. And so here with family and obviously doing the show here today. The show tomorrow is TBD, unfortunately. Obviously, it is an Easter Sunday. The timing is just right on the brink. The first pitch is at 1 p.m. We have something at 4 p.m. So if the game ends, and we're leaving at around 3:45, 3:50. If the game ends at 3:30, I can sneak in that 20-minute stream, right? If the game ends at 3:20, I can certainly do the stream. But if the game ends at 3:45 or at 4, I cannot. And right, the game starts at 1. So unless it's another 3-2 ball game that kind of flies by, I'm thinking it's more unlikely that it's going to happen than likely that it is. Unfortunately, I'd say it's probably a 33% chance the show happens tomorrow, maybe a little bit higher. So just putting that out there. I will post it on the channel as well, just to remind everybody. But, it is a holiday, and so TBD on this show tomorrow. No matter what, we need a win. We need a win to win this series. It would be very impressive. If you go 2-1 against the Giants, 2-1 against the Pirates, that's a great homestand, right? So shout out to everybody in here with the nice comments. Everyone's saying, hi, Granny. I love that. But yeah, if you celebrate, if you don't, either way, have a great Easter tomorrow. Celebrate with your family if you do, or just have a great Sunday regardless. TBD if I'll be there. I know people are telling me take the day off. Family's important. I'm not, missing out family time if I take 20 minutes to do the stream, right? It's more so just if I can squeeze it in before the family event. So we'll see, depending on when the game ends. It'll kind of be like that one time where I was at work where I was like, if the game ends at this point, I can do it. If the game ends by 3:30, I can squeeze one in. If it doesn't, I probably cannot. And I will leave with a certified Gavin prediction is what Just is calling it. I am going to go with, remind myself who's on the mound tomorrow. I believe it would be Kikuchi, right? Kikuchi against Verlander. I like the matchup with Verlander in terms of he's not been great. I don't like the matchup in terms of, how I feel about all of our righties against a righty starting pitcher. But darn it, we've got our ace against nowhere near their ace. So it needs to be a win. And Dave is saying Halos win and Gavin doesn't do the show is his final prediction. That's going to be my prediction. I'm going to say 5-3 Angels. They're able to do enough against Verlander. Maybe you have a home run or two, but one of them is with a guy on base. And my prediction is Logan O'Hoppe has a good performance. That's what I'm going to say. Maybe because we need it, but I'm picking Logan O'Hoppe to be the player of the game and for the Angels to win 5-3. With all that being said, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. So much appreciation as always for you all being here, and have a great Easter tomorrow if you celebrate. Take care. Let's get a win, and maybe I'll see you tomorrow. If not, I'll certainly see you after the next one. Take care. Let's get a win tomorrow. Have a great Saturday.